Mr. Brainerd, I did have a chance to read through your affidavit and look at the exhibits that you attached to the affidavit. And you allege that there are individuals who cast invalid ballots, and you believe the claim you're making is within a reasonable degree of scientific certainty. So I did take a look at the exhibits you attached, and I do want to share with you some of the things that I found that appear to be incorrect to me. And I'll just address these in orders of the exhibit attached, and I'll just, in the interest of time, highlight the most notable things that I found. The first exhibit attached, Exhibit 2, is a list of folks who were registered to vote in Georgia and have subsequently registered to vote in another state. Right off the bat in your affidavit, you testify that you cleaned up the list for duplicate entries, yet on the very first page of the exhibit, there are 3 duplicate voters. So I am concerned about the duplicate entries that may not have been removed from the exhibits. On that same page, what I did was I just took the first 10 names that were listed that are alleged to no longer be a resident in the state of Georgia. Of those 10 names, I found 8 property tax records that shows the voter still lives at this current address listed under which they're registered in the state of Georgia. They claim homestead exemption on this home as their primary residence, and they pay property taxes on their homes here in the state of Georgia. These are 2020 records that I will be submitting to the committee for review. Of these 10 voters that I researched, I was able to reach 1 voter on the phone. The voter verified that both he and his wife still live at this address in the state of Georgia, and he has only voted in the state of Georgia. He has a lengthy voting history that I was able to pull as well. From this very same list of individuals, 1 individual is alleged to be registered in both Georgia and Arizona. I was able to confirm her registration in Georgia and match her voter registration to a property tax record to confirm that she still holds residency in the state of Georgia as her primary residence. I cross-referenced her with Arizona's database and in fact did find a voter with the exact same name, and they are exactly the same age. However, the voter in Georgia was born January 17th and the voter in Arizona was born on April 17th. The voter also has a very common name, and I subsequently just typed in her full name, first, middle, and last name. In the state of Georgia, 117 people share this name, according to White Pages, and in the state of Arizona, 54 people share this name. There was another similar scenario with another individual on that same list, registered allegedly in both Georgia and Arizona. Same first, middle, last name, but they have different birthdays. They're different ages. One is age 48, one is age 49. The voter in Arizona has not actually voted since 2016. I'm going to move ahead in the interest of time to Exhibit 4. And you mentioned this earlier, voters who, in your affidavit, you allege that voters are using PO boxes to register and disguise PO boxes as their residential address to cast invalid ballots. In this exhibit, I immediately recognize one of the addresses. It's right around the corner from which I live, and I have friends that live in this actual building. It's a condo building with units on top, and it happens to have a FedEx center in the bottom of the condo complex. I reached out to my friend that lives there and informed him that both he and his wife are listed on your exhibit as having committed voter fraud by trying to disguise their residential address as a PO box. He subsequently sent me a list of all the homeowners in that same complex, and I cross-referenced them with their voter registration to confirm they live there. And then I also looked on your exhibit, and every single person that owns a condo in that building that voted in this election has been accused of disguising their residency as a PO box. I found a similar scenario for an address that is also an apartment building with a FedEx center in the bottom of the building. I know exactly where that building is because I have friends who used to live in that apartment complex, and a simple Google search will show you in real time that that is a residential apartment building with a FedEx center underneath it. Now, For those two buildings alone, I've identified at least 70 individuals in the first building that are on this exhibit, having been accused of disguising their residential address as a PO box. And on the second list, there are at least 58 folks that are named for that specific apartment complex. In Exhibit 5, this is the list of people who have alleged to have voted twice, one in the state of Georgia and one in a second state. One of the very first names on that list happens to be our colleague, Representative Tyria Nolowitz's neighbor. So we simply picked up the phone and called Representative Nolowitz, and she called the voter. The voter is alleged to have voted in the state of Maryland and also in the state of Georgia. The individual has confirmed that he currently lives in Georgia and has never voted in the state of Maryland. He, in fact, has not been to Maryland in the last year at all. He does have a father with whom he shares the exact same name, a senior and a junior. In another scenario, I was able to find an individual who allegedly voted in Georgia and also in the state of Virginia. The voters share the exact same name and age, but they have different birthdays. The Georgia voter born June 14th, the Virginia voter born June 2nd. On the last, one of the voters on my list happened to be my constituent. I attempted to call her, was unable to reach her. So I actually just drove over to her house and talked to her and her husband yesterday afternoon. They've lived in Georgia their entire lives, have lived in that same house since 1985. They've never even been to the state in which they're alleged to have double voted. Earlier, Mr. Adams did testify that there are circumstances in which voters have the exact same name, first, middle, and last name, and the same birthday. Based on what I found, I'm led to believe that many of the names listed on your exhibits are erroneous. And these allegations are very serious allegations. You've alleged that these voters have committed a felony. When I picked up that phone and I called my friend and let him know he was on that list, he and his wife were very surprised to learn that their names have been attached to a federal lawsuit and there have been no attempts to contact them to verify any of this information. So these voters, in fact, have no idea they're being accused of committing a crime in a public filing where both their names and their addresses are listed. And these voters are both Republican and Democrat. It's not a partisan list. So to be clear, there are many people who have been accused of committing felonies, and there are many common names in these exhibits: Smith, Williams, Johnson, Taylor, Davis, Miller. In some cases, as you admitted earlier, you use birth years, in some cases, birthdays. But did you use any more specific unique identifiers such as social security numbers or driver's license numbers that would have actually been able to prove that these people are not, in fact, the same people?
Okay, quite a lot of questions there. First of all, I actually want to thank you for helping to raise issues to help better validate the data. It's only with strong scrutiny that we're able to be completely confident in our findings. So to answer some of your questions, first, we never used anybody's just birth year. It was always, it had to be a complete match. In fact, because the default date for so many birth dates is the 1st of the month or the 1st of January, whenever that's, those components are missing, we actually excluded everybody that was born on the 1st of the month or January 1st for any of our matching. Second, you bring up the issue of duplicates. In the total number of 20,300, is it 12, I think, that is a completely dedupe consolidation of lists. While individuals might have had multiple NCOA records, we have a completely unique list of county and voter ID numbers that totals 20,300. Regarding some of the other name issues that you've found and other issues that you've raised, as I mentioned, I'd be more than happy to address all of those. If you'd send them to me, I would give them an additional validation and scrutiny and get back to you on them.